When you lose all hope, that's when life begins to test what you're truly made of. Hope is not just a feeling, it is the fuel that keeps the soul alive. But there comes a time when that fuel runs low, when your prayers feel unanswered, when every effort seems wasted, and the darkness whispers that it's over. It is in those moments that your destiny is watching you closely, asking one question: will you surrender, or will you rise? You see, losing hope doesn't mean you're finished, it means you've reached the edge of your strength so that you can discover a greater power within you. Every great man, every woman who ever changed the world, stood once where you are, broken, tired, and uncertain. But instead of allowing despair to bury them, they dug deeper. They realized that the absence of hope is not the absence of purpose. It is the invitation to see beyond what eyes can see. Losing hope is not the end, it's the beginning of discovering your true strength. When everything around you seems to crumble, and all the dreams you once carried begin to fade, something profound begins to happen inside you. You come face to face with your own limits, your own fears, and the part of you that you never had to confront when life was easy. It is in this place of despair that true transformation begins. Because when hope leaves, all that remains is raw reality, and in that rawness, you begin to see who you really are, without pretense, without illusion. You begin to discover that strength is not in never falling, but in refusing to stay down. There are moments in life when you look around and realize that no one is coming to rescue you, that the help you expected didn't arrive, and that the world has gone silent. That silence can feel like punishment, but it's really an invitation. It's life pushing you toward the realization that the power to rise has always been inside you. The greatest strength is not the kind that shouts, it's the quiet resolve that says, I will not be defined by this. When you lose all external sources of encouragement, when even your own hope runs dry, that's when you meet the strength that doesn't depend on emotions. It's the strength that comes from conviction, from purpose, from a deeper knowing that you are built for more than this moment. Every trial you face reveals another layer of what you're capable of enduring. People often think strength comes from success, but true strength is born from struggle. It's easy to believe in yourself when everything is going right, but it's in the season of loss, confusion, and emptiness that your inner warrior awakens. You find that you can still move forward even when you don't see the finish line. You learn that your value was never tied to circumstances, and your identity was never meant to be shaped by failure. Losing hope strips away what's temporary, leaving behind what's eternal: your will to fight, your faith to stand, and your purpose to continue. The world will test your spirit with pain and disappointment, not to destroy you, but to reveal the power hidden inside you. Like gold in fire, your strength shines brightest when it's tested. Sometimes you don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only option left. And in those moments when you're too weak to stand, yet somehow you do, you begin to realize that your power doesn't come from what you've lost, but from what remains. It's the strength to believe again, to rise again, to move again, even when the pieces of your life don't make sense. When you lose hope, you are forced to look inward, to dig deeper than you ever have before, and to find the source of strength that doesn't depend on circumstance. You begin to understand that what breaks you also builds you, that what empties you also prepares you, and that what you thought was the end is often the birthplace of something greater within you. The absence of hope is an invitation to awaken your inner faith. When hope fades and you feel surrounded by darkness, it is not always a sign that you have failed. Sometimes, it's a divine setup for something deeper to come alive within you. Hope is often built on what you can see, what you can touch, or what you can predict, but faith lives beyond that. Faith begins where sight ends. When life removes your visible reasons to keep believing, it's calling you to awaken a power that doesn't depend on evidence. The absence of hope is not the absence of life, it's the moment your soul is challenged to rise above what is seen and trust in what is unseen. There comes a point when nothing makes sense, when every door you knock on stays closed, and when every effort feels wasted. You start to question why things aren't working, and that questioning can lead you into despair. But in that place of emptiness, something sacred can happen if you allow it. The noise of the world fades, and you can finally hear the quiet voice inside you that says, "There's more." That's faith beginning to stir. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's a whisper that refuses to die even when everything else has been taken from you. Faith is not about feeling strong, it's about trusting even when you feel nothing at all. When hope disappears, faith becomes the only light you have. And that light, though small, can guide you through the darkest night. Faith doesn't require proof, it requires surrender. It asks you to keep walking even when the path ahead is hidden. It teaches you that the things you thought were gone forever can be reborn in a different form. Sometimes, losing hope is what allows you to discover that your belief was too small, too shallow, too dependent on what you could control. Faith calls you higher. It calls you to trust not in outcomes, but in purpose, not in timing, but in truth. The absence of hope can feel painful, but it is also purifying. It strips you of everything superficial so that only what's real remains. You begin to see that faith is not just about believing in better days, but about believing that meaning exists even in your worst days. Faith gives strength to endure when logic gives up. It reminds you that even when you can't trace the plan, you can trust the process. It anchors you in something unshakable, something greater than emotion, greater than fear, greater than despair. When you lose hope, you are being called to awaken a deeper belief, a belief that no matter how silent it feels, life has not abandoned you. You are being invited to walk by faith, not by sight, to lean on something eternal, not temporary. The absence of hope is not a punishment, it's a turning point, a sacred opportunity for faith to rise and reveal that what sustains you was never outside of you, but within you all along. Pain and disappointment are the tools that shape your character and destiny. They are not obstacles meant to destroy you but instruments designed to develop you. Every moment of pain carries within it a lesson, a hidden strength, a new dimension of understanding. You may not see it while you are in the midst of it, but the challenges that seem unbearable are molding you into someone capable of carrying greater purpose. Without pain, there is no growth. Without disappointment, there is no redirection. The very things that make you question yourself are often the same things that prepare you for the next level of your life. When everything goes as planned, comfort becomes your companion, and growth becomes optional. But when life hurts you, when people disappoint you, when dreams collapse, that's when your real self begins to emerge. Pain forces you to face yourself, to confront the parts of your character that comfort allowed you to ignore. It reveals your endurance, your patience, and your resilience. Every disappointment is a mirror that reflects who you are becoming. It refines your motives, purifies your intentions, and reveals whether you are led by passion or purpose. Disappointment is not a closed door, it's a compass pointing you in a new direction. Sometimes the reason certain things don't work out is because they were never meant to fit into your destiny. You may see rejection as failure, but it could be protection. What you lost may have been necessary to make room for what you are destined to gain. Pain has a strange way of removing what you thought you needed so that what you truly need can find its place. Though it hurts, it's not the end, it's the shaping. It's the refining fire that removes weakness and reveals strength you never knew you had. You can't develop endurance without resistance. You can't learn forgiveness without betrayal. You can't learn patience without delay. These experiences don't just happen to you, they happen for you. They awaken the deeper qualities that success and ease will never produce. When you begin to see pain and disappointment as teachers, you stop running from them and start learning through them. You understand that purpose often hides behind discomfort. The greatest victories are born out of the deepest struggles because struggle sharpens your focus and gives meaning to your triumph. Character is not formed in celebration, it's formed in challenge. Destiny is not shaped by what you gain but by what you overcome. Every tear you've cried, every failure you've endured, every door that closed in your face has been preparing you to handle the weight of the future waiting for you. Pain doesn't come to stay, it comes to train. Disappointment doesn't come to destroy, it comes to direct. When you see them not as enemies but as mentors, you begin to rise above them. And though they may leave scars, those scars become symbols of survival, proof that you were refined, not ruined, by what you went through. What feels like being buried is often the process of being planted for growth. There are moments in life when you feel as if the world has covered you in darkness, when everything familiar disappears, and silence surrounds you. You look around and see no light, no movement, no progress, and you begin to think that it's over. But what if that darkness isn't a grave, but a garden? What if what you thought was the end is actually the beginning of something new? A seed must first be buried before it can break open and grow. Growth never starts in the spotlight, it begins in the soil, hidden from sight, pressed by the weight of the earth. The same is true for you. When you're under pressure, when life feels heavy, that's not death, that's development. Being planted and being buried look the same from the outside, but their purposes are completely different. Buried means it's over, planted means something greater is on its way. When life covers you, when doors close and opportunities seem lost, you might mistake your planting for burial. But the truth is, growth requires isolation, transformation requires stillness, and destiny requires hidden seasons. The darkness that surrounds you isn't punishment, it's protection. It's the place where roots grow deep, where strength is built in silence, where faith learns to stand without evidence. Every dream, every purpose, every calling must go through the process of being hidden. A seed that refuses to go into the ground will never grow. The pressure you feel, the waiting you endure, the silence you hear, it's all part of your preparation. You can't bloom until you've been broken open. The seed must split, the shell must crack, and that breaking is what releases life. The process may hurt, but it's necessary. You are not being forgotten, you are being formed. Life is doing something inside you that can't be seen yet but will soon be revealed. When you're planted, you can't see progress because growth happens underground. That's why patience becomes the companion of purpose. You must trust what's happening beneath the surface. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not valuable. The unseen work is the foundation for the seen results. In the same way, your silent seasons are building strength you'll one day need to sustain your success. If the roots don't grow deep, the tree won't stand tall. So when you feel covered, when you feel forgotten, remind yourself that roots are being established in the dark. What you call delay might be divine timing. What you call hiding might be healing. What you call loss might be life rearranging itself for your next season. Every storm, every setback, every silent period is preparing the soil for your breakthrough. The ground that feels heavy today will one day open up and reveal what was growing all along. You haven't been buried, you've been planted, and in due time, the seed within you will rise and show the strength that only the dark could have produced. Silence and waiting are seasons of preparation, not signs of abandonment. When everything in your life seems still and nothing appears to be moving, it can feel like you've been forgotten. You pray, you work, you give your best, yet nothing changes. The silence grows louder, and the waiting feels endless. But silence doesn't always mean absence, it often means that something sacred is happening beneath the surface. Just because you can't see movement doesn't mean there isn't progress. The greatest transformations often take place in the quiet moments, when the noise fades and life begins to shape you from within. Waiting is not wasted time, it's sacred time, a period where patience and strength are built in silence. There's a reason every season of growth is preceded by stillness. Just as the soil rests before the seed sprouts, you, too, are given seasons of stillness to strengthen your roots. The silence you experience is not life ignoring you, it's life preparing you. Sometimes you are kept waiting not because you're unworthy, but because what's being prepared for you isn't ready yet. Waiting stretches your faith. It teaches you to depend on timing greater than your own understanding. In waiting, your endurance is tested, and your priorities are refined. You learn to listen deeper, to see clearer, and to trust even when there's no visible proof that anything is changing. The world measures success by speed, but destiny moves by seasons. If you rush what requires time, you ruin what could have been extraordinary. The waiting season is not punishment, it's positioning. It aligns you with what's coming. It ensures that when the door finally opens, you are ready to step through it with wisdom and strength. Silence allows you to hear the whispers of direction that noise would drown out. In the quiet, you start to recognize what truly matters. You realize that your worth is not defined by activity but by identity. You begin to understand that just because things are delayed doesn't mean they're denied. When you look at nature, everything valuable takes time. The oak tree doesn't grow overnight, the diamond isn't formed in a moment, and the sunrise doesn't rush to appear. Each one waits for its appointed time, and so must you. Waiting builds patience, and patience builds maturity. You learn that timing is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Every second of waiting is shaping your ability to hold what's meant for you. The silence is giving you wisdom, and the stillness is anchoring your spirit so you can stand when movement finally comes. So when life grows quiet and you feel unseen, remember that silence is not the end, it's the beginning of alignment. Something is being prepared, shaped, and strengthened. You may not understand it now, but the waiting is working for you. It's the unseen training ground where destiny prepares you for what's next. When the silence finally breaks, you'll realize it was never empty, it was sacred preparation for what was always meant to be yours. When you choose to believe again, even in darkness, light will always find you. There are moments in life when the weight of disappointment and failure crushes your spirit so deeply that believing again feels impossible. The darkness becomes familiar, and hopelessness whispers that this is where you belong. But belief is a spark, and even the smallest spark has the power to pierce through the thickest night. Choosing to believe again doesn't mean you understand everything, it means you decide to trust that something greater still exists, even when your heart can't see it. It is in that small act of belief, in that quiet whisper of faith, that light begins to move toward you. Darkness is not the absence of life, it's the space where light proves its strength. You may not feel ready to hope again, but every time you take one small step toward faith, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. The light doesn't rush in all at once, it grows slowly, gently, guiding you out of the shadows. You begin to see that the power to rise was never lost, it was waiting for your permission to awaken. The moment you choose to believe again, you tell the darkness that it cannot define you. You break the agreement with despair and realign yourself with purpose. Believing again after pain is not weakness, it's courage. It takes strength to hope when hope once betrayed you. It takes faith to love when love once left you broken. And it takes resilience to dream when dreams once disappointed you. But it is through that choice to believe again that your healing begins. Every time you say, "I still believe," you rebuild what life tried to break. You open a door for renewal. You invite possibility to enter the space where fear once lived. Belief is the first sign of resurrection, it's proof that your spirit refuses to die. The world will often tell you to be realistic, to lower your expectations, to protect yourself from further pain. But belief doesn't belong to the world, it belongs to the heart that refuses to surrender. Light responds to belief. It follows it, it feeds on it, and it expands through it. Even in your weakest moments, belief is your greatest weapon. You don't have to see the whole path, you just need to take one step. Because when you move by faith, light meets you halfway. It's not the absence of fear that guides you, it's the decision to walk forward in spite of it. Belief transforms your perspective. It turns endings into beginnings, pain into purpose, and loss into lessons. When you choose to believe again, the universe conspires to align everything you need to rise. The light may not remove every shadow immediately, but it will give you the clarity to take the next step. You'll begin to see that even the darkest night can't extinguish a soul that dares to believe. Light doesn't find those who have it all figured out, it finds those who keep believing when they have every reason not to.